We're halfway through Amazon reInvent almost, out in Las Vegas here. We're going to talk about some of the big news so far.
Big day.
Yeah, big day.
Andy Jassy's keynote.
Yep.
He comes out, he starts talking. Ton of news, as with all of these keynotes.
Yeah.
One of the big things, got to be the artificial intelligence services. This is something where Amazon had to make a play. Microsoft, Google, IBM, all have these sorts of pre-built AI services, and Amazon came out swinging today.
Yeah, last year they announced something called Amazon Machine Learning, which they described as something that's pretty low level, requires you need to know what you're doing to use Amazon Machine Learning. This year it was all about making machine learning more accessible to app developers. So they had 3 specific announcements. One of them was an image recognition system. You can load images into the cloud and their machine learning system will find trends in it. They had something called Lex, which is a natural language processing platform it's the base of the Alexa platform that they have. So now customers can use that. And finally, they announced something called Poly, which is a text-to-speech. You give a text and it will give you speech. So some interesting things with AI.
Poly was most interesting to me. That's something that we really haven't seen from a lot of the other players in the space. And so I'll be interested to see where that goes, because that's a system where literally you can feed it text and it gives you an audio file back of spoken language. So that, to me, that has a lot of potential, especially in accessibility contexts, where all of a sudden you can just feed all of your interface text into that, and that'll give you something that you can give back to something like vision impaired users, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different applications that you could see coming about from this. Chatbots, interactive applications, a whole bunch of things. Some other interesting news today, something called green grass is related to the world of IoT, right?
Good old IoT. I mean, we keep hearing that it's the wave of the future. So what's the word with greengrass? What are they up to?
Basically what they did is, this is a way to take devices that are connected to the internet and allow them to do some sort of computing on the actual device. So it doesn't have to be connected to the cloud to do some basic compute functionality, and then when it does get connected to the cloud, it's able to offload the data that it has collected to the cloud. So the idea here is that you would have all these devices out in the world that would be collecting data, and they don't have to be in a place where there's an internet connection. They can do some of this processing on their own, and then when they do get an internet connection, they can offload that data to the cloud. So some interesting use cases here. Think about a ship that's out in the middle of the ocean, doesn't have a good internet connection. You can still get data out there while you're out there, and then when you do get that internet connection, you can upload it to the cloud.
And again, this is another important competition piece, because that's something IBM has been hammering on with their IoT play, is they've been saying, look, we're bringing Watson to the edge. We're going to bring intelligence to the edge. And so for Amazon to say, yep, and here we are too, is really important. The other really important thing about this is that it's all based on Lambda, that event-driven compute system that they introduced a couple of years ago. It's become really popular. It's one of their cornerstone products for their compute offering. And for all of this to be based on Lambda, I think is really important, because what's going to come from that is that's additional, stuff keeping people in Amazon's ecosystem, because it's Lambda based. It's not like you're not writing C for this. You're not writing Python. You could be writing
That's
Python,
but
it's
sticky
not
platform.
right.
It's going to keep customers in their cloud.
It's not generic. It's Lambda, and so that's something that's really important.
Right. Yeah, I've had a couple of customer meetings this week. One with Philips Healthcare, and they were telling me about how they've internet connected a lot of their devices, everything from Sonicare toothbrushes to MRI machines, that they're now sending data up to the cloud. They consider it an IoT device. So interesting to see where IoT is actually starting to be out in the real world now.
Yeah.
A couple other announcements. Athena is a new query platform for S3. It seems like this is a way to, if you have a lot of data in S3, you can do some faster analysis. You don't need a whole data warehouse to start doing some analysis on your data.
I was talking to Tableau earlier today, speaking of companies involved in this whole ecosystem. They're really excited by Athena, because what that means is you don't have to worry about data warehousing. You have all of these IoT devices that are spinning off data. You can just say, stick it in an S3 bucket, and then I'll process it using SQL, the same SQL queries that you're used to running in other places as well. I think that has the potential to turn out to be a really powerful tool for doing simple computations on data that's going to help people.
Yeah. Another tidbit of announcement, the Aurora platform was MySQL compatible, now it's PostgreSQL. Just another little tidbit that we see. Perhaps the coolest thing from the keynote this morning, though, was a truck being driven on stage. What happened?
A big honking truck. So Amazon announced their Snowball storage appliance. It's this, good size, ruggedized box. They announced it a while ago. Holds 80 terabytes, ships to the customer, they load it with data, they ship it back to Amazon. Okay, great. But what happens if you have a ludicrously large amount of data? What if you have exabytes of data? You're not moving at 80 terabytes at a time. So now you can move it 100 petabytes at a time with a big white truck.
That they literally drove onto the stage.
They literally drove a big honking truck. It's right over there. Big honking truck. And they call it the Snowmobile. And it's high throughput, high latency.
Yep. This truck backs up to your data center. It's got a big fiber connection that you plug in, and it just eats up data from your data center. It goes back to an Amazon data center, and that's how this is for really outsourcing data centers to the cloud.
Yeah.
These mass migrations. I'll be interested to see how many customers are actually at that scale.
Well,
using it.
And the other important thing about it is that that's something where data has gravity. If somebody uses one of these big honking trucks to get data into Amazon's cloud, if you're sending a snowmobile's worth of data to Amazon, you're probably keeping it there, because sending 100 petabytes of data out of AWS, that's gonna cost you a pretty penny. And that's gonna keep people in Amazon's cloud for a really long time in the future, and that's something that they really like. Now, here's a quick interesting stat. It can do 1 terabyte per second data transfer, which means that you can fill one of those things up in about 10 days. That's how long it takes to fill one at maximum speed.
Incredible. A lot of headroom for growth in the cloud market.
A lot of headroom for growth. It'll be interesting to see what comes of this. That's another one of the really interesting things about all of these product announcements is you get here, they announce a whole bunch of stuff, and now we really get to see, okay, but what's going to happen? What are people really going to do with it? And that's when I'm going to be interested to see, 6, 12, 18 months down the road, what's going to happen here.
Right. Well, check out all our websites, IDG News Service, Network World, and all the IDG websites to find out. We'll be covering it.
Sounds great.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Brandon.